Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night's second edition of the College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Groft, along Zach Gershman. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in last episode. We got so many great feedback, and we really appreciate the support. Just please keep it coming, and just if you have any ideas, please suggest it to us. Zach?
I would first like to start off with an apology. I really hope you did not take my predictions to the bank last week because you guys would have lost some money. We'll talk about that here, but as Austin said, we're very appreciative of the support. We love hearing from you guys. We love getting feedback. We're learning this game. We're learning this industry. We love to hear your guys' feedback, what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to hear us talk about. If there's any game you want us to focus on, if there's any player you want us to focus on, we'll be sure to talk about that here. But just continue the support. Share the video, like the video, subscribe, do all that fun stuff that YouTubers say nowadays. And let's get started. It was a pretty busy week of college football last week.
Yeah, last week was very busy. Looking in this week's ahead schedule, not that many important games other than our very own Nittany Lions taking on Michigan. We'll get in that game very shortly, so stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and look at the top 10 now. Now, all the teams from last week's top 10 are still in the top 10 this week, but we see some teams moved around, so I'm just going to go through it real quick. Number 1, Alabama. 2, LSU. 3, Ohio State. 4, Clemson. 5, Oklahoma. Oh, I messed it up. 3 is actually Clemson. 4 is Ohio State. Sorry about that. 5 is Oklahoma. 6 is Wisconsin. 7, Penn State. 8, Notre Dame. 9, Florida. And 10, Georgia.
So that was my first mistake. I said that it was inevitable that a team was going to drop out of the top 10, and that did not happen. Florida stayed in the top 10 after losing to LSU. Oklahoma did not drop. They beat Texas. But the big jump here was going from 5-2, LSU Tigers. Incredible game against the Florida Gators. And you know who led that? My guy, my Heisman prediction.
Here we go. Joe Burrows. Let's hear it, Zach. Go ahead. Go off on your rant about your guy.
It's not even a rant. I'm just trying to show you guys that Joe Burrows is probably one of the most underrated, but is now getting the spotlight he deserves. One of the top quarterbacks in college football. My prediction, he's going to be the Heisman winner. Let's just go over his last game, Austin. Playing against Florida, playing against the number 7 team in the country at that time. Joe Burrows went off, only had 3 incompletions. Went 21 for 24, 293 yards. Speaking of 3 incompletions, he got 3 touchdowns too. And he threw 0 interceptions. Incredible game from Joe Burrows. Playing in his home field, using the home field advantage to his advantage. Incredible game by my prediction for the Heisman.
So now that LSU is 2nd overall, all that's ahead of them is Alabama.
Isn't it going to be great when they play later in the season?
Isn't it going to be great when they play? Now, I know it's a little bit down the road, but what do you think? Can LSU really contend with Alabama?
Oh, contend for sure. Could they beat Alabama? I'm not so sure about that. I do think Joe Burrows will have a better game than Tua Tagovailoa, but the defense, Nick Saban always has one of the top defenses in the country. I think that LSU could put up a pretty good fight against Alabama. Alabama gave up 28 points to Texas A&M. It was at Kyle Field. And my apologies, last week I said College Park. It's not College Park. That's Maryland. It's College Station. So my apologies with that. But they gave up 28 points to Texas A&M. Now Texas A&M is no longer ranked. They were 24 at the time. Alabama gave up 28 points. That's a pretty big score against a lower-ranked team in the top 25.
I mean, yeah, that is. But also, we can talk about Georgia and what happened with that shocker in double overtime.
What happened with Georgia? I cannot believe it. I cannot believe that South Carolina went into Georgia's house and played them in 2 overtimes and beat them. Jake Fromm, I mentioned last week how I believe he's one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks. I mentioned how I believe that Justin Fields should thank Jake Fromm for learning under him for his year at Georgia. But Jake Fromm did not play so great. He went 28 for 51. He threw 1 touchdown pass. He did throw for 295 yards, which on a regular game would be good. but it's 2 overtimes, and he threw 3 interceptions.
Yikes.
Austin, when you throw the ball 51 times in a game, you should have more than 1 touchdown pass, especially when it's against a South Carolina team.
And yeah, that completion percentage is very awful. I can't even believe that. And 3 interceptions against this now 3-3 South Carolina team. Like, are you serious?
And normally, if a team did not have as good of a run game as Georgia does, I could understand 51 passes in a game. But you have one of the best running backs in the country, not Jonathan Taylor, but you have DeAndre Swift, the St. Joe's Prep product from the Northeast Philadelphia, Jersey area. He's got that PA Jersey blood to him. He's a runner. He's one of the top running backs in the country. You don't throw the ball 51 times when you have a guy like him in the backfield. I mean, DeAndre Swift's even being talked about in the lower part of being talked about for the Heisman. I mean, DeAndre Swift last week had 23 carries for 113 yards, 1 touchdown. He had a pretty good game. I don't understand why you don't just keep feeding him the ball. You could tell that something's not working in the passing game if Jake Fromm only throws 1 touchdown.
Yeah, I don't even know what was going on with him at all. Like this game was just crazy. It's like one of those things that always happens in college football that's very unpredictable. And like, we were like, this is a easy win for Georgia. It's gonna be a blowout, not even gonna be a close one. You don't have to worry about it.
It's just
we come to this week.
It's just wild to me how I feel that Georgia just completely overlooked South Carolina. And normally when a team overlooks an opponent like Georgia did over South Carolina, even with Georgia's dominance, I still would have expected it to be close if they overlooked them. I did not expect a loss in their schedule. Now they dropped down all the way to number 10. They're still in the top 10. They have to win out for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
they have to
sure.
win their championship, their conference championship, in order to be back in the discussion for the college football playoffs. But my God, I was not expecting a double overtime loss to South Carolina.
Yeah, no one saw that coming. Like that's honestly just, it was dumbfounding. All right, so the other game that I picked right that you didn't get right, my Oklahoma Sooners.
You're calling them your Oklahoma
Sooners?
No.
I'm just saying that because I like Jalen Hurts, because that's my Heisman prediction. And you obviously have Joe Burrows, but can we talk about Jalen Hurts for a second?
Jalen Hurts had a pretty good game overall.
Yeah, he is 16 for 28, 235 yards passing, 3 touchdown passes, and he had 17 rushes for 131 yards and 1 rushing touchdown.
He had a very good game. There's that play of him going viral when he put the ball behind his back, got away from a defender. That's what's so special about Jalen Hurts, is being able to get out of those type of situations. When I predicted the game, I did not know how he would enter the Red River rivalry against Texas at Texas. I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed with how Jalen Hurts played overall. He has a great team with him. Lincoln Riley is a great head coach. I heard there's now discussions that Jerry Jones is possibly looking at Lincoln Riley as the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Who knows how that affects the team? I don't think that will happen until the end of the season, obviously. Jason Garrett's still the head coach of the NFL's Dallas Cowboys. That interesting organization that they got over there. But we'll let the guys at PSSN who have their NFL podcast talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little plug. Check out their page also. But Jalen Hurts had a pretty great game. I knew he was going to have a good game. I just didn't know how well he was going to perform in the Red River rivalry. I really was expecting Texas to jump into the top 10 with a win against Oklahoma. That's not happening anymore. They're not going to be in the top 10 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm afraid not. I don't think Texas has anyone that's too tough down the road. Looking at Sam Ehlinger's stats, we were talking about him last week in the Heisman, but he did not play that great. I mean, he was 26 for 38 for 210 yards, but he did not throw a single touchdown pass.
He had a very mediocre game, because if he would have thrown a couple touchdown passes, 1 or 2, this would be a completely different discussion as to how we would assess his overall performance. But Austin, he got sacked 9 times.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That offensive line let him get hit so bad by that bull rush from Oklahoma.
Yeah, looking at rushing, it says he has -9 yards. He also did have 2 rushing touchdowns.
He had a pretty good game. Pretty mediocre game, because a good game would have been on both sides.
Both sides, rushing and passing.
And rushing, as you mentioned. He had the 2 rushing touchdowns. I don't want to say I'm disappointed with the way he performed, because I'm not. He had a pretty all right game. And I keep switching between mediocre and all right because of the magnitude of the game. But it's considering the magnitude of the game, he's got to step up.
Oh, yeah. When you have big-time games like this, season's on the line. If you want to have any chance at making the college football playoff and you want to make a case for your team, when you're playing these big teams, you have to show out.
But I do think passing overall, looking at his stats, against Oklahoma State, he went 20 for 28. Against Rice, he went 23 for 27. Throwing-wise, he did not have a poor performance.
Yeah.
But just you got to hit the end zone.
Exactly.
You got to get into the end zone. Especially in a game like that, you got to get into the end zone.
Looking at Oklahoma now, they're undefeated 6-0. Do you see them, by chance, I don't know how, because the teams ahead of them are so good. They have to win out to make it, but do you think they're going to be able to make it this year?
To the college football playoffs, you're saying?
Yes.
It depends on how Ohio State looks. I think that Alabama and LSU are going to be fine. I'm now beginning to question Clemson a little bit. Although there really isn't a reason to question Clemson. I don't know. I just have a little bit of doubt with Clemson. I feel that Clemson's team has been paying a lot of attention to the media, although they say that they haven't been. And I kind of question if that will get them off track. But overall, it really depends on how the Big Ten shapes up with Ohio State and Penn State, depending on how Ohio State does play Penn State and how they play against Michigan. You know, those are their 2 big games. I think that Oklahoma's only way into the Big Ten, into the college football playoffs, is if either Ohio State or Clemson loses. But I don't think Clemson's going to lose. I have my doubts, but realistically, I think that Clemson's going to be a 3 seed going into the college football playoffs. I question Ohio State, though.
Yeah, Ohio State still has to play our very own Penn State Nittany Lions.
But if we could quickly get back to Oklahoma's schedule, they play a pretty good Baylor team in a few weeks.
That is true. We were Baylor undefeated 6-0.
Baylor's
18th.
Undefeated. They're 18th ranked right now. It is at Baylor too. It's in Waco, Texas. You're going into their place. You still have to get by West Virginia. You are at home against West Virginia, which is, I don't want to say a guaranteed win, because the last time I said it was a guaranteed win, Georgia lost to South Carolina.
Yeah.
So for everyone, and if anyone is taking my predictions to the bank, when I guarantee something, don't hold me to it. I'm just a college freshman. But I do think that they play teams that they could beat. They play West Virginia, they play Kansas State, they play Iowa State. You're going to get pretty comfortable playing against those style teams. Then you're going to go into a powerhouse, somewhat powerhouse, and I use air quotes for powerhouse over Baylor. But you're going into their place. And that's going to be a very big game. That's in a month from tomorrow, so there's obviously a lot of time. A lot could change. Jalen Hurts could go off.
Like he has been.
And he could continue going off. He could possibly jump into the front-running seat for the Heisman Trophy. I'm not going to give up Joe Burrows like that. But the reason why I say Jalen Hurts could possibly jump into that spot, or the reason why I say Jalen Hurts could possibly jump into that spot, because Joe Burrows still has to play a team like Alabama.
Yeah, that's true.
If Joe Burrows goes off against Alabama, I think we have our Heisman winner. And I it's a little bit premature to say this, but I'm kind of riding Tua Tagovailoa off the Heisman.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. I mean, like you said, Joe Burrow, like he's unreal. Like he's the real deal. We've seen him do this consistently now.
It's just crazy to think about. I'm looking at Tua's stats here. He went 21 for 34, 293 yards. He threw an interception, but threw 4 touchdown passes against Texas A&M. As we mentioned, it was at College Station. It was at Kyle Field in Texas A&M. A guy like that does not jump, or normally a player does not jump into Kyle Field and into College Station and goes off like he did. But the SEC is a crazy league.
Oh,
we see that. We see that with Georgia losing to South Carolina.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm kind of writing Tua Tagovailoa off my Heisman list. But at the same time, LSU's in the SEC.
Exactly.
I just think that the difference in conference, in different sides of the conference, is why I predict Joe Burrows to go farther in the Heisman running than Tua.
All right, moving on for some of the other games from last week. Zach got this game spot on. Notre Dame versus USC. He said it was going to be a close one. Final score was Notre Dame 30, USC 27.
Very happy about that one.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that one. I thought it was going to be a little bit more high scoring than it actually was. But I'm very happy to see that. It was a really close game. It was a really competitive game. It went well.
I mean, looking
Book had a pretty solid game.
It was like he didn't have that many passing yards. It was more of a rushing game for the Irish. Looking at Tony Jones Jr., he had 176 rushing yards. And he didn't have a touchdown, though, but still, the other touchdowns, rushing touchdowns came from other players. Like Ian Book had one, and this.
And Ian Book threw for one also.
Braden Lenzy had one carry for 51 yards and a touchdown, so that was a wild play there. But yeah, that was like, you were spot on with that one. I'm surprised Notre Dame is now at 8th overall.
I'm kind of surprised they jumped also, considering the fact that how close it was against a USC team that was coming back. They did come with multiple players, as we mentioned last week. 3 of their starters returned. It was pretty impressive to see that they came back and they put up such a dominant fight against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. It also was at Notre Dame. So USC went into their place and they put up a pretty good fight.
And the final game that we were going to talk about from last week was Penn State versus Iowa. Penn State pulls off the win 17-12.
I have so many mixed reactions about this one.
Yeah, so do I. It was an interesting game, let's just say that.
We love James Franklin.
Oh yeah.
He seems like an incredible guy from the interactions we've had with him across campus.
Great guy.
You could tell he's a player's coach. But I question his play calling. I understand that a lot of fans were disappointed with John O'Neill and the refereeing and then the ref crew that he brought to Iowa. It's tough playing in Kinnick Stadium. Also, you're playing against Iowa. You're playing against their fans. You're playing against the circumstances. But Austin, when you are at the 1-yard line, why are you throwing the ball and why are you in shotgun? Sean Clifford has had the ball in his hands quite a bit, rushing-wise. Put him under center and just bust up the middle. You have one of the most dominant offensive lines in college football. You are the number 7 team in the country. Put the ball in Sean Clifford's hand. Give it to Devin Ford or give it to Ricky Slade. Give it to a back also. They could bust it in. I don't understand why we are throwing the ball with such short yard situations.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at Noah Cain as well. He had 22 carries for 102 yards.
Noah Cain had a great game. He, I think, separated himself from the pack officially as the top lawn boy.
The lawn boys, my guys. But yeah, for sure, like Noah Cain, really impressive, 4.6 yards per carry. He had a long of 12 yards. But
this defense, though, amazes me.
Oh, guess what? They held Iowa's rushing to 70 yards. That's it.
If you think about it, they have not let up more than 14 points, I believe, this season.
I believe that is right. Yeah, that's right.
That was against Pitt about 4 weeks ago, it seems.
On that note, do you think Penn State arguably has the number 1 ranked defense in the nation?
Arguably, for sure. For sure. It's hard to compare them to a team like Alabama or like LSU, like Clemson's defense, really you're going to determine and see how they are this coming Saturday when we were in the national spotlight last week playing Iowa, 7:30 night game at Kinnick Stadium. We hear all the stories about these ranked teams going into Kinnick Stadium against Iowa and losing. I'm pretty sure James Franklin had a losing record entering that game against ranked teams when on the road. So it's incredible to see that we came away with such, I don't want to say a dominant win, but it was very sloppy because it was very sloppy.
Yeah, it was
but
sloppy.
The defense played like a dominant force. Robert Windsor had an incredible game. Shaka Toney got the biggest sigh of relief when John O'Neill, I think it was a makeup call, but reversed the targeting call on him, which would have forced him to miss the first half of the Michigan game. Yetur Gross-Matos had a great game. John Reed, the cornerbacks had a pretty all right game. John Reed got mossed.
Oh, yeah.
with
I don't want to
Brandon
talk
Smith.
about that, yeah.
But I think that play right there shows it shows who wants it more.
Oh, yeah.
You just could see entering the last few minutes of the game. I think he scored that touchdown in the last 2 minutes it was.
Mm-hmm.
We can't slack off against some
Yeah.
teams. I was watching in the hub Parents Weekend. A lot was going on. You could just feel the tension and the nerves going across the hub because we are questioning who really wants it more. Is Penn State entering this fourth quarter, getting that touchdown, being really upset about the refereeing, how they performed? Were they already starting to think about Michigan? And you can't do that.
We talked about that last week. They were up, and the players were getting excited. It was like, oh, baby, we're getting up.
I do have to also touch on Sean Clifford's performance. He had a very rocky first half.
Yeah. I mean, other than that huge play by KJ Hamler, that was my favorite play of the game.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah, that play was beautiful, but
And it brought me back memories of Saquon Barkley jumping up, which led to the Jawan Johnson touchdown. When they went to Kinnick Stadium last time, Saquon Barkley hurdled the defender, got into great field position. With this game, KJ Hamler hurdled multiple guys, even some of his players.
Yeah. I mean,
he ended into the end zone, which was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
But Sean Clifford's performance in the first quarter was incredibly shaky.
I mean, Penn State this season has been relying a lot on those big plays. We saw here as a closer game, and they didn't really have any of those big play touchdowns other than that KJ Hamler touchdown. But
And I do think that something I mentioned in last week's podcast that I really believe that they need to focus on for this week. I remember I texted you right when it happened. You got to give Pat Freiermuth the ball.
oh yeah, we were talking about this.
We saw
yeah.
that how he lunged for the end zone, just that effort. That's what we talk about when we
Yeah.
say who wants it more.
Who
We
wants
saw
it?
him
Yep.
go about a 4 or 5 yard leap into the end zone from his spot. I don't think he was down. Then again, I'm not a ref, and I'm not going to get into that because I'm one who doesn't like to blame the games on the refs. He still got us to the 1 yard line. An extra half a second on the jump would have been a touchdown. You just got to keep feeding him the ball.
Yeah, nonetheless, I think it was a huge win for Penn State going into Iowa and winning that. It's big time. All right, so I think that concludes everything from last week's game. So let's transition into this week's games. Like we said, there's not that many big-time games. There's number 12, Oregon, versus number 25, Washington.
I hope Justin Herbert goes off for Oregon, takes Washington out of the top 25. The other ranked game is Arizona State versus Utah. I hope that Arizona State wins. I think it would be great for Herm Edwards and his Fighting Devils squad.
Some other interesting games to look at are Temple versus SMU.
Temple needs to be ranked. They need to be ranked. They knocked off 2 ranked teams. They were lower ranked teams. They knocked off Maryland and took the win out of their sails, which made it pretty light work for Penn State when they played them. They also beat Memphis last week. Memphis was 23rd ranked. They beat them by 2 points. It was a very close finger-biting nail type of game. But Temple's got to be ranked, especially if they beat SMU.
And the other interesting game to watch, this is not a ranked versus ranked matchup, but is number 18, Baylor versus Oklahoma State, who is undefeated. I think Oklahoma State may be able to give them a challenge here because it's also at Oklahoma State.
Nah.
You don't think so?
Nah.
You don't think?
I think that Baylor is going to win out. I think they're going to get into the top 12, and then they'll play Oklahoma.
My prediction for this game is I think Oklahoma State is going to give them a rough game, and I think it's going to be very close. You think Baylor is coming out on top?
I think Baylor wins 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns?
By 2 touchdowns.
You want to bet on it? I think it's going to be at least
I'm not betting on anything. We saw how last week's predictions went. I'm not betting on anything.
Okay, I think it's going to be a 3-point game. I don't want to say Baylor's going to lose because I would like them to be undefeated until they play Oklahoma. So I'm not going to say I think Baylor's going to win by 3, but I think Oklahoma State's going to give them a challenge.
It's going to be a very exciting game.
It is going to be an exciting.
You just made this a lot more exciting.
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did. All right, and so let's move on to the game of the week, game day, prime time, Michigan versus Penn State.
Where do we even begin?
I know. I am so excited. Like I literally
feel
can't
like we
wait.
began right after Iowa. Right away, the news came out. The news broke. College game day. Reese Davis, Kirk Herbstreit, Desmond Howard from the University of Michigan. I was going to insult the institution, but they don't deserve that. The beating we'll give them is enough. And you got Lee Corso. Will Lee Corso don the Nittany Lion mascot helmet?
I sure hope he does. And Zach, do you have any poster ideas for game day? Because I kind of need a poster. And any of you guys watching, if you have any poster ideas, please throw them at me because I would love to have a great poster for college game day.
I was actually talking about it with my father about what type of game day signs we could use. Not the best signs we could have come up with. Still have a few more days to come up with some signs, but Lake Michigan's full of Wolverine tears. Friends don't let friends apply to Michigan. Just don't go to Michigan. I would put that on a sign.
Oh, I love those Michigan signs. Like Michigan still sucks. Like in the desert. I don't even know where it was at. Those are so funny.
It's been pretty cool because now campus is starting to feel alive. It feels like whiteout week. It's going to be a very interesting game. It's going to be a very interesting lead up to the game. I plan on going out Friday to go see college football live. See Maria Taylor, Desmond Howard, David Pollock, hearing them give the preview of game day. And then obviously college game day comes here on the Hub lawn.
Yes, sir.
I cannot wait. I already saw people from ESPN walking around. I believe they were from ESPN. Don't quote me on that. But I saw people going around scoping out the Hub lawn. Scoping out the Hub lawn, getting ready for the set. This is going to be the first time it's at the Hub lawn. It's been at Old Main the past 2 years. Old Main's getting renovated right now with the bell tower. It's going to be incredibly exciting seeing the Hub lawn turn from green to white, getting ready for the whiteout.
Oh, yeah. I got my Micah Parsons jersey sweatshirt ready. I got my gear ready and everything ready to go.
I just bought a thermal. My mom's not necessarily pleased with it. She doesn't think it's warm enough for the game. But I'm very excited to go all white for this.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Zach and I have a great time on the field, you know.
We will have an incredible time.
No matter what the temperature is, it's always a great time in that stadium.
Oh, for sure.
I see people, hey, how about those guys in the front row of the student section? They're not wearing shirts. They're perfectly fine. Tell your mom about those guys.
I'm not. My mom's hopefully going to be watching this, so hi, Mom. I'm not going to be. I'm going to be wearing a shirt, I promise.
Hi, Zach's mom.
I promise I'm going to be wearing a shirt. But the atmosphere, I just cannot wait. It's going to be my first whiteout.
Oh, it's also my first whiteout. And we're on the field to experience our first whiteout. I literally can't wait. I don't even know. I can't even express it. When we, obviously next week, we're going to be talking about everything we felt and just the atmosphere in general. And
which is why you guys should also listen to next week's podcast. Continue to share this one so we get more viewers for next week.
Oh, yeah, you already know. But, so what do you think?
Right, so there's a game with this also.
Zach and I kind of got off task because we're so excited for this, if you can't already tell. But game prediction, Zach, what do you think?
I think Penn State wins by a touchdown. And I think they're going to get that touchdown late. It seems as though the whiteout games are always very close. They always go down to the wire. They're always very exciting and nerve-wracking, and they're not games you necessarily want to experience because of the stress factor of it. But I am so excited. I think Penn State is going to come away with the win, and they're going to be riding high going into the following week, where I believe they play Michigan State, which is going to be a 3:30 game. They're going to have 2 night games going to a 3:30 game. I'm not going to start going from Michigan to Michigan State. We got to focus on Michigan right now. You can't let the players
As the players, one game at a time. That's all you got to worry about.
For sure. You cannot overlook this game. You guys, the players, need to perform lights out football and white out football. You got to play like you're playing in a whiteout game. It's going to be incredibly nerve-wracking. I can't even imagine it.
My prediction was the same as you. I think it's going to be a 1-touchdown win for Penn State. I think this game is going to start slow because both teams are going to be nervous and they're going to be very anxious for this game. Penn State, as we've been seeing, has been starting slow in the past, so making it a whiteout atmosphere. Maybe they'll give us that explosive start and get the crowd going, but I think it's going to be a very slow start and then get very entertaining at the end of the game.
And I'm going to send a challenge to our viewers that are listening to this. First off, if you're listening this deep into the podcast, we greatly appreciate it. We love you. Send us your predictions for this whiteout game. Let us know what you guys think. Just score. Even if you guys think Michigan's going to win. The closest score, I'll give my score right now. I think it's going to be 28-21 Penn State.
My final score, I think it's going to be 24-17 Penn State.
We want to hear what you guys think the score will be. The closest to the score will get a shout-out on next week's podcast. We'll open it up with the shout-out. And we just really are excited for this game. We're excited for you guys watching this at home or watching this at Beaver Stadium. We know it's going to be incredible. We know it's going to be loud. You're a part of this Nittany Nation. Let's just get a W.
All right,
But Austin, Coach Franklin needs to get under center. I'll leave it at that. But he's got to get under center if we're at the 1 yard line. Don't let the decision come down to the refs. Don't let it come down to play calling. Be ahead of everything.
Give it to the lawn boys.
Give it to a lawn boy. Give it to any boy.
Any lawn boy.
Except just make sure they're wearing a Nittany Lion helmet.
Yeah.
We don't want turnovers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my! All right, I think that pretty much wraps everything up. These past 30 minutes have been a great time. Very excited for this Penn State game. We're hoping the best for our boys.
We're excited for all games. We hope all teams do well. Yeah. That's the sportsmanship in us.
Facts.
I believe I'll leave with this. I believe that the top 10 is going to stay the same. Notre Dame's going to stay at 8 with their bye. I think that Northwestern is going to lose to Ohio State. I believe that the top 10 is not going to change that much.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. All right, thank you so much for watching and tuning into this second edition of Penn State Sports Night College Football Podcast. We hope you guys all have a great rest of your week and have a great time watching college football this weekend. Thanks, and have a good one.
Just remember this, Joe Burrows for Heisman, and we are. Thank you, everybody.
Penn State.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.